like, okay, well, we're a collective now. And we were like, yeah, you're right. Like, we've been doing it, we've been acting that way already, so you're right. We're absolutely a collective, you know?
Make it official.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like they were saying, you know, security, sanity, like everything. You know, when you were out here, like Tara said, the mainstream media would have a reporter, a camera guy, and then 2 security that are usually armed that were following them around, and were usually pretty noticeably security because they'd be wearing, you know, Blue Lives Matter shirts and stuff, which seems weird.
My security finally told them don't wear that no more.
Right. But yeah, you know, so they had their own security. We were all out here on our own. You know, I came down here, I didn't know a whole lot of people. So I was basically out here alone, and having the rest of them to have my back, and you know, so we could coordinate and cover as much as possible, and we could have, you know, 3 different angles of the same march, because there was 1,000 people in that march, and there's no way I could have filmed 1,000 people by myself. There's no summer could have filmed 1,000 people by myself. So we would communicate and make sure to spread out, you know. Somebody's in the middle, somebody's in the front, somebody's in the back. Like, you want to see the front, hit Jason Downey's stream. You want to see the back, hit Summer stream. You want to see the middle, hit Tara's stream. And it was really out of necessity because mainstream wasn't doing it. They just weren't doing it. And part of that problem is that mainstream has to have, you know, like a source that they have to use to quantify their story. A lot of time that source happens to be emergency services. So you're getting that information from, you know, EMS and fire. It's probably going to be accurate because they don't really have to hide much. But LMPD, they got a lot to hide. So that information that they pass to mainstream media usually has a lot of holes in it. Mainstream media just takes it and reposts it. Verbatim, it's from LMPD, it's got to be true. It's not. And we proved that countless times last year. So like I said, mainstream media is catching back up to this brand new horizon of independent media that was forced by a pandemic last year.
I think one of the things that's been really cool too is our cooperative ventures with many of our mainstream media partners, because we have been asked numbers of times if they could use our live streams on mainstream, because either they weren't able to be out there, or they weren't at the same angle, or we were up in the shit. You know, we were getting the close up of whatever was happening, and it was
there was a period where mainstream weren't even allowed to be down here. Like their employers, the organizations said y'all can't go down there. Like, it's too dangerous. You're not even allowed down there. There were reporters that wanted to sign waivers to come down to get footage and weren't allowed to. So, like, is that active suppression? I don't know. You decide.
That reminds me, early on, the first week, they had no idea what to do, because I remember the one reporter was live talking to a studio guest, and they're like, who is that officer pointing that gun at? And it's directly at the camera, and it's like, who do you think that it's pointing at? You can see you're looking down the barrel of a gun right there.
Yeah, and I have to give big props to Katie Rust, who also was the first person to really amplify the 502 live streamers and did a great story on Wave, you know, which was tremendous, because people really learned what we were doing and how we were doing it. You know, and to the people who were out those first 2 nights, especially Shane McAllister, you know, I was watching her just with my heart just pounding out of my chest, you know, as everything, the whole city was just exploding. And you know, and I knew as soon as I got back to town, I was like, I got to get down there. And Summer, of course, I had already known through outreach, but we ran into each other, and we spent a good portion of that Saturday here with Emmanuel, which was amazing.
And the Bungalow Boys, I did not know. So we came down, like, so that night, everything happened the night before or whatever. And so, of course, I think a lot of people's instincts were to come down and see what was going on, and come down and help if we needed to help clean, or just, you know, just be there. And so we did that. We cleaned up a little bit of stuff, and then we came walking back up here, and me and Manuel's just kind of in our own little world. We're just marching. He's marching. I'm marching. We're both screaming. And then there's these guys there, and I didn't know who they were, okay?
Hawaiian shirts.
I didn't know. My dad wears Hawaiian shirts. I mean, like, you know what I mean? And he's not a Bungalow dude, or whatever how you say it.
Boogaloo down here supporting Kenneth Walker for Second Amendment.
Well, actually, they were here just that day just to kind of see what was going on as well, I think, because we actually talked to them, and I took a picture with them, me and Emmanuel, and I still say that picture was dope, because here's me and Emmanuel, like arm in arm, we got fists up, and they're behind us, right? So I posted on Facebook. I don't know any better, right? Like I fight human trafficking. I know some race. I know all the race groups now, but I got a lesson that day. I posted it, and like I had a couple of my friends, activist friends, go, like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "Who the? Why were you standing with those dudes?" And I was like, "I don't know. They seemed like they were all right. Me and him, I had a manual with me. We were good." I get home, my husband's like, "Babe, no, you can't do that." He's like, I was like, "But they sounded like they were." He's like, "Yeah, that's what they do. They finesse you, and then they, you know." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So it was just a lesson, you know, because I mean, I don't know all the. I mean, I know there's racism out there. I know that there's hate out there. I've experienced it. I've seen people experience it. I've had some crosses be burned in the yard and all kinds of different stuff. But it just seemed like in the last couple of years, all these groups started popping up. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I didn't know there was guys behind shirts, you know. So I was like, but that day was really good because I think that was like when we were like, hey, this is going to be a big thing, you know. I'd never imagined it being what it is, that's for sure. But yeah, Antonio was down here, you were down here. So yeah,
I knew the minute I asked, because I was live the whole time, so I was live streaming this whole friendship, blooming friendship that was occurring. But I knew the minute I said, "What's your name?" and he said Duncan Lamp, I knew it was all over.
Right,
then
yeah.
Then I knew who he was and what he was there for. But I think that just one of the, you know, we've been through so much together, and to build on what Summer and Riot both said, you know, we as a family, as a 502 live streaming family, I mean, we've literally made a commitment to ourselves as a group to have family dinners.
Yeah,
you know,
we do.
We'll find our secret little restaurants in the back rooms, and we'll, you know, get out and have dinner every month or so, and spend time. You know, we talk to each other on the phone. You know, she and I talk, Riot and I talk pretty much every day, and we work on each other's projects, and we support each other, and we're there for each other. But one of the things that I think people don't realize is the extreme danger that people in this entire process of protesting were in. Not only the Black lives that were on the line, the white allies who were there to support them, the live streams and the mainstreams, and every citizen around them, because of these outside forces that were coming in to Louisville and creating havoc. You know, almost.
FFA,
Oh my goodness.
Almost
I mean,
every
even to an
incident.
extent, you know, in fact.
Yeah,
To an
yeah,
extent,
to an extent, yes.
mental freedom.
Yep.
You know?
Almost every outside group, almost every single incident where something bad happened was because of outside instigators. It
Yep.
was primarily not because of local protesters. And, you know, and we said that over and over again. You know, we don't know who that guy was. We never have seen this person before. What was going on? And it was typically people who would drive in from another city, and we would say to those people, we don't protest the way you protest. You know, we don't live stream the way you live stream. We don't cover things the way you cover things. And we need you to to take a step back and listen to the leaders here and the organizers here about how you're going to do your thing, and take the cue from us as to how, you know, we live stream things. Because God, you know, you can get into all kinds of trouble if you don't
Well,
literally follow the local customs.
Right. Well, and it's just about being accountability, right? So if you go to another city where they're protesting or whatever really they're doing, you know what I mean? And that, I think it was good because we would tell other live streamers, we'd be like, look, you need to chill just a little bit. You know what I mean? Or maybe you should go over here and do this, or maybe you should go check in with these people or whatever, and be able to help them too. And sometimes most of them were like, hey, yeah, that's awesome, and they would be like, man, you all really don't protest like everybody else.
Nope.
They're like, you guys are actually nice, and I'm like, yeah, because like we have a bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like burning shit down and breaking shit was not what we wanted. We want justice. We want equality. We want not have to worry about any of our community members being shot down by police officers, or women being raped by police officers, or sexually assaulted by it, you know? And so we really were trying to do our best, and so as the organizers and all that stuff, really to work together and really just keep the message of, no, we're not, I mean, because if we want, let's just be honest, if we wanted to burn shit down, we would have. You know, we could have demolished this whole city if we wanted to. We had the number, we had the power and all that. But that's not what we wanted. We want justice. We want equality. Again, I'm just going to keep pounding that and that's what I would tell people. And we would call people on their shit. If we seen people doing stuff that they had no business doing, we'd be like, stop this shit. You know what I mean? If a local wants to do something, okay, but no, you're not coming in here and messing my shit up.
Even some of the locals, you know.
And we call them on their,
There was a couple months where there was a bunch of 14 to 16-year-olds that were out here at night hanging out and stuff, and they'd get a little rowdy. And, you know, so some of the OGs would have to step up and be like, yo, that's not what we're doing today.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And what's good about that is because out of those, look how many amazing relationships that came with the young people, and they're, I mean, like Bruce did the basketball, Breeway Warriors, and things like that. So I think that's a really good thing I mean, we had mentorships coming out of the protests. You know what I mean? And
so many nonprofits.
So many no profits, organizations. I mean, so many. That was something I remember when we were all like, okay, we finally came to a point where. And I think there's a lot of different levels in protesting, right? I think that, you're going to protest, you're going to yell, you're going to scream, there's going to be all that. But also then there comes a point that part kind of dies off a little bit, which ours lasted for over a year. So, I mean, shout out to Louisville. But then we took the protest to the community. We started going into the community, and so many, I mean, Amber has, Chalk It Up, the Hope Bus. We have so many different organizations that were birthed out of 2020 protests. And are now, I mean, Amber, they specialize in childhood trauma and things like that. Those are things we need in our community. So, I can't speak on what other cities did because I don't know what other cities did. But I think that's, besides all of us standing in unity, I've never in my life, and I've been to so many protests, even here, I've helped, with a bunch. But to see so many people coming, I mean, we had people coming from the Hollers, we had people coming from the Highlands, we had people coming from, it wasn't just people from the 9th Street Divide, you know what I mean?
We have people from Minneapolis and
100%.
Portland, Oregon, and
come in,
all the other protest cities around the city, like, you gotta remember Louisville was one of the hubs, one of the meccas. Like, it was like Louisville and Minneapolis were the two hot spots that everybody was watching. So yeah, there was a lot of out-of-towners that came in, and sometimes they were here on our side, and sometimes they were here to burn shit down, and we had to stop them.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I love all the good things that came out of it. I really do. I mean, do we have a lot, work and all that good stuff? Yes, we do. But I just love the grassroots organizations, because for me, grassroots organizations is what keep all of our communities going. It really, really keeps everything together. And so I just loved, I just absolutely loved that. So that was something I definitely wanted to highlight, because I think sometimes we could be like, we forget about that. And that's pretty dope to me, man, because it's affecting the community in so many beautiful ways. So.
One of the dangers with interviewing other people who interview is that you do think of questions that you probably are going to ask in advance.
Been there like 3 times.
Yeah, our bad, sorry.
Did you want to ask us another question, or would you like me to just anticipate it?
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Right.
Let's get into independent media versus legacy media or mainstream media a little bit. And let me preface this a little bit. This is a soapbox I get on, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I like to analyze mainstream media a lot. People nowadays have really lost trust in mainstream media. That's kind of why I started doing this. I think one of you mentioned that earlier. You kind of started that because you didn't like what was going on with mainstream media. But it's basically become like public relations anymore. They talk about a lot of stuff from sources they can't name and things like that. It's just not real journalism. And on top of that, it's dividing people. But I like to break down kind of the reasons that it happens, and I won't take a long time to do this, but there's a few main things that happened that's kind of destroyed our mainstream media. One was getting rid of the fairness doctrine. And this was in the 80s. This meant that the news at that time kind of had to show both sides of the story. Once that went away, now you've got hyper-partisan channels that basically cater to the audience, but it's not really news.
Pretty much all mainstream media has one side or the other, even though it's supposed to be unbiased.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest.
And we're all biased,
As do live streamers.
but it's a problem when they pretend to be unbiased while they're being biased.
We're open about our bias.
Yeah, that's
Let you
true
know,
too.
like,
I'm
this
very
is our point
biased,
of
but
view.
everybody knows it. Another thing we're dealing with is the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which basically consolidated the media. Before that, we had over 50 different owners of the mainstream media. Now it's down to, I believe, 5 families own pretty much everything. And that's not just nationally, but like locally, like Sinclair owns a lot of news, and you'll see there's clips of just Sinclair news stations across the country saying word for word all their anchors the exact same thing, despite being in the Northeast, the Southwest, or wherever. Another thing that was really bad is in the 80s, 60 Minutes hit #1 in the prime time, and that's kind of when they realized they can make money off this, and so it went from news to a profit. And then the worst one of all, and I try to explain this to people, is the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. And for those that don't know, we had the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, and what this did is prevented propaganda to be used against the citizens. So the news, the government had to come out, and they couldn't legally propagandize us. Well, in 2012 in the NDAA, they did the Modernization Act, and they changed the wording, and it got rid of that. So now they can literally legally propagandize us and call it news. So that leads us to today, where
Fox.
Yeah, all of them really. But today, a lot of people across the country, and we've seen it here in this city, like you all, me, and several others. Matthew, Sherry Wright, Smooth You, and a few that I'm probably forgetting. But we kind of did this ourselves because we're looking at this like,
George Smithers.
yeah, what are these people doing? They're not out here covering things at all. If they are, it's incorrectly. They're misquoting people. So that got me out here. Talk about how you all feel about mainstream media nowadays, and difference between that and what we're doing.
I have a different. Go ahead. Did you want to go?
Yeah, I'll give the simple one because they're going to get into a whole long thing about it because they're way smarter about this than I am. I really don't like the way, I'm just going to give like the average person's response. I don't like the way it divides all of us. It seems like that's became very, very intentional. And it really doesn't matter what news you watch, it doesn't matter any of that. It's just they are purposely doing everything that they can to keep people separated and keep people divided in their own little boxes. And then you can't get anything done that way, I mean, even if you like, I don't watch mainstream media that much except to like watch it to see what like all the crazy people are thinking. But I just really, for real, I'm like, wow, that's really what's in your brain right now? Because I have to deal with some of these people, and I want to know like how can I try to understand them, because I'm a very big person. I'm a big person on trying to understand even people I don't agree with, because you never can get to a solution if you can't understand what's going on. And the media is definitely playing a role in all of that, and that just really aggravates me because we're missing out on so much, and people are in their own little corners, and they're just pissed off about everything, and they really don't even know what they're pissed off about, but it's because Fox or CNN or whoever fed it down their throat. Because honestly, I don't believe like the right wing or the left wing. I don't give a shit about none of that. All the media sucks, except for live streamers. And now that's kind of where I watch all my stuff is live streamers, and then YouTube. Well, those two. But I know that I can. If I tune into his stuff, I know it's gonna be something good.
Stream,
you know what I mean?
live
Like
footage
right.
that can't be denied.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so on that, and again, you guys, they know all the technology. They're teaching me how to do all this stuff. I just can pick a phone up and be like, how you doing? But yeah, that's something that it just drives me nuts, because people are, and I was talking about even today on my show on Hot Mess Express on YouTube. I was like, we got to stop this. We have to stop allowing, we have the government, and then we have, the media, and it just keeps everybody so pissed. And so that's something I don't like. But I'll let them give you guys the professional answers, because I'm just a hot mess.
Well, I want to do a shout out too that at least two of the major collectives that have been remarkable nationwide, Mercado and Unicorn Riot. Mercado Media, Reinhardt and I
watch them a lot.
I can shout out Concrete Media in
Yep.
Portland.
Yeah.
I can shout out
Share.
Saw Luna
Yeah.
from New York.
Yep.
Yeah.
There, and tons of these people came here. I got arrested with Concrete. we were handcuffed together in the Sally Port down there. I didn't know he was independent media until like we were handcuffed together and we started talking about it. But there's tons.
Unicorn Riot was a great one too. They really covered Standing Rock.
Yeah,
They
that's why I
got
like
on that.
them.
Unicorn Riot's been doing this shit for like a decade or more, like
Yeah.
2 decades probably. Like before the internet was even like easily accessible for video, they were like taking video and uploading it for people. Like I've been following Unicorn Riot for a very long time.
And the thing that's cool about what Mercado did and Unicorn did as well, especially during the Chauvin trial, in George Floyd's death, which was just absolutely incredible and gripping. We all wanted to be watching that trial, and Mercado reinvented himself, as we all have, from being out with phones in the live environment to to a literal virtual set, which is cool to watch because he's created a virtual set for Mercado Media to do these, debriefs after each day of the trial, and really did. Hey, Chris Will.
I know, that's what I was waving.
That's
I was
one of
like,
my
hey!
heroes right there. Give him a big wave.
It's Chris. He was one of our organizers. He's I don't know if I should call him that, but yeah, I think he was.
He's a king.
Yes.
Just one thing.
Okay,
But I
but
tell you,
he was one of the
Yeah.
he's an awesome guy, so we love him to death.
It's just amazing how many people took the live stream concept and turned it into something so much more, which is a lot of what we're doing too. I mean, because, I've always done live streams with multiple microphones, multiple cameras, multiple guests. I was talking about the fact that I did judges interviews when we were having the judicial races a couple of years ago. I sat down the judge candidates who were running against each other and actually, had those amazing conversations to teach people what the judicial branch of government did, because people don't really know. And that was really eye-opening for a lot of people. So, I want to continue doing stuff like that. Reinhardt and Summer and Maxwell and I particularly, because the four of us, I think, a little bit more flexible as far as our schedules go, have been able to carry a lot of things that many people would just miss if they didn't see it on our live streams, because they're not things necessarily that mainstream media would pick up on. But live streaming has changed the industry. It has changed the media industry for better and forever. And I think that we're going to continue to see the change occurring and the development of live stream media. And we don't want to be mainstream. We're not trying to be mainstream. We can emulate some of the things that they do that work. And God knows they've been emulating some of the things that we do that work, which is fantastic. And I'm glad that we have that cooperative effort. I still, because I spent 35 years in mainstream media, I still have a tremendous amount of faith in the people who are doing the work. And I want to shout out too the Courier Journal staff, because man, those guys, and we highlighted them on a live stream.
Bailey Loosemore in particular.
Yeah.
They have done a tremendous job, and Darcy and Tessa and Hayes and Michael. I mean, they have all been out doing the work and covering the Breonna Taylor story like no other outlet, and they should have gotten that Pulitzer. That's all I can say. But
FPL does some good
and
work, too.
FPL, Ryan, I mean, all those guys have just done a fabulous job. And I want to just say that I'm watching the skies, and it
She's our
looks
weather
like
lady.
we've got a storm that's getting ready to come. So I just want us to be aware of that.
We're pretty close to the end.
Yeah, I
so,
want to be aware of that. But I want to thank you for the hard work that you've done, because you've been out from the very beginning, day and night, night and day after day. And, everybody's had an opportunity to determine how they wanted to approach live streaming. What do you identify yourself as? Lots of live streaming protesters. I'm a journalist, and I've been a journalist from the beginning. And the thing that I really respect about the fact that I've been down here amongst our protesters is that nobody has ever impeded me for saying I'm a journalist. I have a tremendous amount of love and faith and heart for the people who are protesting, as I do for every voice that I amplify and uplift. And I really respect the fact that I was welcomed and invited into this coverage, not as a protesting live streamer or a live streaming protester, but as an actual journalist live streamer. So it's been a huge growing experience for me. I'm glad that I've been able to amplify these voices, and I want more people who look like me to understand what people who have been out protesting are actually thinking, living, like, and feeling. And I feel like the live streaming medium has been great with that.
Class coming up. I just have two quick questions for you all.
Real quick.
Yes.
What ruined mainstream media is the 24-hour news cycle. And what I mean by that is two things. A, the fact that news only lasts for 24 hours anymore, and the fact that news lasts for 24 hours consecutive. So everything's breaking news now. There's not anything that you follow up on and you continue with. And further than that, it keeps everyone wanting to shit their pants 24 hours a day. It's not great for mental health. It's not good. And that all happened after 9/11, same time that we militarized our police force.
Can I do one thing? Can I just throw this handsome king in here for a second in the middle of our
Come here, Chris.
live streamer interview? Because of the fact that, hi.
Oh, and look what shirt you have on.
Look at you.
It's a Hawaiian shirt
A
on.
little bit festive, you know.
So I
Chris,
think
welcome to the live stream.
I think the
He's not
reason I
about
wanted him to
Hawaiian.
come in is because he was one of the first who welcomed me to the square. And always let me ask my white girl questions and answer them honestly. And I love that about Chris Will, because a lot of people would not have done that. They would have said, shut up, go somewhere and learn something. I had to learn it on the job. I had to learn it at the moment. So why don't you ask Chris Will what he thinks about live streamers and what his experience has been with us?
All right.
Basically what she said.
All right. Cute. So live streaming is definitely from, I would say, from the start when we realized that live streaming was when we started seeing the news. We really can't blame the news, because I mean that's what their business is, headlines, stories. But sometimes they'll come out here and they're so nice. Like, just tell us something. You'll think like, oh, I gave a great interview, and then they'll take something and spin it, like 10 seconds of like a 3-minute interview, and then spin it. And the thing about live streaming is continuous. So if you mess up, you cuss, you bleed, somebody throws something on you, a bird poop on your shoulder, it's on there, it's not going anywhere, it's not getting edited out. And the things that were happening that were key for live streamers to be, especially in the movement, we definitely needed a continuous stream and multiple people doing continuous streams, and then the forming of the Avengers happened of live streamers. You know what I'm saying? And then it was some lessons learned. Really, all of us was out here learning on the go. Like it wasn't like, no, hey, this is the protest handbook on page 33. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we was it was like reaction, emotional. Then we started, toward the end, it got a little bit more structured. But like in the beginning, I think the key thing was just capturing and make sure that we were protecting ourselves.